Hello everyone and welcome back to APPF1 Tier 2. We're here for round number 8 of this 10 race season, really in the business end of the championship now with 3 rounds to go. And we're here in Singapore for the Marina Bay circuit. What a track this is. And what a race we have on our hands. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Don't worry, Alex. Just do your best. Hello to Hamza as well. Good to see you in the chat. I hope all the flooding in your area has been all right. I hope you're doing okay. And hello to Runes in the chat as well. Denko for the win. Denko really could do with a win if he wants to get himself... Well, he's still in this championship fight, but to get himself closer with just a couple of rounds to go after this one. Because the Drivers' Championship currently looks like this. It is Enchiladad who leads the championship with 97 points at this stage, with JB, or Joe B, 91 points, just 6 behind after getting a very surprising second place last week after Sumo binned it at the final corner. Jackalacko sits in third place, 10 points adrift of JB on 81 points. Then it is the two-time reigning champion X-Trek in fourth place with 78 points. He's 19 behind with 3 rounds to go. It is not uncatchable by any means. And then in fifth place is Denko on 76 points, just 2 points behind his teammate. But Denko has been on a run of bad form recently, so he could really do with a good result here to get his confidence back and also to get some much-needed points in this championship fight. Constructors' Championship is just as exciting, with Mercedes and VCarb on the same number of points, 154 points each to the two outfits. And then it is the McLaren team just 2 points behind. McLaren's of Enchilada and Tier have finished in second place in the Constructors for the last 2 seasons. They'll be hoping not to make it a third and finally get that title that they've been after for quite a while. So it looks like we've got Scott heading around the track, but I missed the start of his lap, so I am going to ride on board instead with Sumo, who was oh so close to pole last week, has been so close to pole many times this season. Can he get it here in Singapore? He comes down towards turn 1, down the brakes, misses the apex a little bit, certainly misses the apex of turn 3. That's a major lockup for Sumo. That'll have cost him some time as he now heads towards the end of Sector 1 again, a little wide of the apex there, so not the best start to the lap from the British driver, my former commentary partner in Tier 2. His teammate Alex getting out of the way just ahead as he heads down towards turn 7. Welcome to UK Greenhill, hopefully bringing Denko luck. The Denko fans in full force in the chat as always. He does need a good result today, so he needs your support. As Sumo comes into Sector 2 now, the former Singapore Sling chicane, now just one corner as he heads round it, and now you can really clatter over that curb, but Sumo getting very close to the wall there. That was close to disaster as he brakes now for the hairpin, down the gears into even second gear as he headed through there. DRS open now towards the final sector. 103.4 in that middle sector, again wide of the apex for Sumo. It's not the cleanest lap from the Ferrari driver, it has to be said. Tier sets the pace with a 127.9. Lawrence just a tenth and a half behind him though, as Scott must have invalidated his run. As Sumo now through the last couple of corners, again still not the cleanest lap from Sumo, it has to be said. How close will he be to that top spot? He's 2.5 tenths down. He's behind Lawrence at this stage. He will not be happy with that. Neither will JB, actually, down in third place at the moment. Just 2 tenths behind Tier, but JB needs better than that. We've got X-Trek on an outlap. Keep an eye on him. Many people touting him for pole in this one. As Robsu heads towards turn 1, as Jackalacko finally unseats Tier 27-7 from the Season 10 champion. as he's only 13, or sorry, how many points behind is he? 16 points? Yeah, he's only 16 points behind in this championship battle. Aston Martin may not be in the constructors, but Jacko's certainly in the drivers' battle. And now, after a couple of lackluster seasons, it has to be said, for the Scottish driver, but he'll certainly be hoping to get this race off to a flying start. Cavalis to P6 for now, as Scott comes through for his second attempt. Alex G also on a lap. I predicted him for pole in the podcast. We'll see if that comes true. But Extrek in Sector 1. Keep an eye on this man. He is going to be very, very quick. Scott does an identical time to Jack Alaco, but misses out in the 1/10,000th of seconds. The game does go all the way to the 4th decimal place, but it doesn't show it on screen. Tier stays in P3 with Lawrence in 4th. Lawrence, very impressive at the moment. 4th place for him right now. As Alex G, 103.9. He's a long way down in the middle sector, so a lot more to come. In theory, from the Ukrainian. Extrek's got plenty of ERS left on this lap somehow. Enchiladad, though, the championship leader, goes to pole position at 27.6. But what can Extrek do? He's heading to the end of the middle sector. It's a 103.6. He's quite a way behind, actually. That was around where Alex G was, so this is quite far down from Extrek on his first run. I'm sure he'll be able to gain some back later in the session, but I think he's going to be quite a way off here. He comes to the last couple of corners now, and across to the line, it's going to be a 28.2 from Extrek, all the way down in P8, so a lot more to come from him. As we've got Avenir, the newbie, coming through turn 3 very, very slowly, it has to be said. Again, I just don't understand. Like, he seems so slow through every corner. Like, his time trials were fine for when he signed up. I don't really understand where this lack of pace is coming from. He just doesn't seem to have anything through the corners at all. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure about Avenir, why he's so far off the pace. Like, I'm just looking at his driving. It's like he's driving in slow motion. I don't really understand what's going on. But anyway, Aces coming through Sector 1 in his Alpine. He finally had a good result this season. Invalidates his lap straight away, though, unfortunately. But he finally got a good result on the board last week. P6 it was, from P3 on the grid, which, you know, on the surface doesn't sound like a good result. But given the woeful season he's had, just getting himself in the mix and not ruining his own chances, I think was a decent improvement for him. So hopefully he can springboard off that and get some good results to round out this season that's otherwise been fairly forgettable for him. Robsu goes up to P10 in the meantime with an improvement. Tricky Badayak a long way down, surprisingly, too. He's usually been in the fight for pole this season. As Denko in the other Mercedes coming through the middle sector now, under the tunnel and or under the bridge rather, and through the hairpin he goes. What's it going to be? Remember, a 102 is what we're looking for in the middle sector. It's going to be a 103.9. He's a long way down, is Denko, and the Greek driver is going to have to find a lot more time than that if he wants to be competitive in this session. It is currently Ench, though, on pole position for now, but Jacko and Scott right behind, just a 10th back. JB on another lap. Meanwhile, he's coming through the first sector now. He's been very strong in qualifying and in races this season, which is a big improvement on last season, where he didn't seem particularly strong in races, even when he had the quali pace. But this season, he's really worked on that. He's a better driver than he has ever been before. He's been in APPF1 for years and years now. Since season 2 of Tier 2 he's been here, and we're now here for season 14, and he is better than ever. Alex G, much better from the Ukrainian, goes up to P6. That is much more like it, just 1,000th of a second behind Lawrence for now. as JB heads through the hairpin. What's it going to be at the sector line? It's a 2.7. He's 6.5 tenths up. Goodness me. This could be a massive lap from JB. He's coming through the final sector now. Just a couple of corners to go. He just has to not mess up this chicane and he should be fine. That looks pretty good to me as he goes through, not quite using all the track, but it should be alright as he heads through the final corner. Overtake mode on all the way through. It's a 27.3 from JB. That is out of this world. And he is really looking to take a stand in this championship. He's just 6 points behind Enchiladadad coming into this round. So that could really be a lap to savour for JB. Jackalacco coming through. Scott as well in sector 1 at the moment. But Jack, final corner. He goes. He was up on his previous best in sector 2. He can't find enough though to get himself ahead of Enchiladadad. I broke your ear. I broke your ears. Is the mic too loud? That's a real surprise if so, because I'm further away from it than usual. Let me know if it really is too loud. Like if I'm peaking, if the sound is peaking, then let me know. Sumo, big improvement for him though. Goes just a tenth behind our current pole sitter. What about Scott? What can he do? He's 2.5 tenths up in sector 1 alone. He's coming to the end of sector 2. He's lost some of that though in the middle sector. Only 1.5 tenths up now as he comes to the last few corners. Lawrence goes to P3 and he could be incredibly competitive here. In this session, if this is anything to go by. He's improved so much over the course of the season since going onto wheel, and we might have to put him back onto no line at some point. Scott through the final corner. What can the Alpine driver do? He is P3. Big improvement for him as well, just over 2 tenths, but he did lose some in that final sector. Enchiladadad, he was a long way back. He's a long way back now. He used to be comfortable in pole position. Now he's 3.5 tenths down in 5th place. Can he beat Lawrence to 4th or Scott to P3? He can do better than that. He beats Sumo to 2nd place, gets himself back on the front row, does the championship leader. What about Exterek? Can he improve? Yes, he can. 3.5 tenths up in the first sector. What about sector 2 for the Norwegian, the 2-time reigning champion of tier 2? He comes through the hairpin now and down towards the sector line. What's it going to be for Exterek? It is 6 tenths up, and he is now going to get himself into this battle for pole position, I think. Coming to the last few corners now. Exterek, what can he do in that Mercedes? We're going to stay on board with him. There's Avenir just ahead of him, but he's on an outlap, so Exterek's going to be the next to cross the line. He's used every last drop of his ERS as he comes through the final corner. What's it going to be? It's a 27.6. He goes 3 tenths behind JB and goes to P6. It is mighty close in this qualifying session so far. Drogon's into the wall. Meanwhile, he is locked up at that tricky braking zone of the right-hander in the start of sector 3, and he is going to have to come back into the pits. Still no lap on the board for him as Aces goes to P4. Much better from the Alpine driver. And anyone else on a lap tier coming through sector 1 at the moment, but not really on a lap, I don't think. Cavalis into the pits. Robsu a 10.5 up. In sector 1. What can he do in the middle sector though? He's 5 tenths up. Huge from Robsu. Here he goes. This could really sort out his qualifying problems if he can keep this lap going. He just needs to nail this final sector and he might find himself in the battle for the sort of top 8 places. Jack Lacko's fallen all the way to 8th, by the way. Goodness me. As here comes Robsu round the final corner. He's used every drop of his ERS. He comes through to set a 27.8. He's just a tenth behind Jacko, but that is much more like it from Robsu. And, well, we know his qualifying struggles this season and, well, of seasons past as well. So here's hoping he can get himself well into the top half of the grid this time instead of having to climb his way back up as he usually has to. Denko, meanwhile, through the hairpin. He's a long way down at the moment on the pace. What can he do, though, in this middle sector? That's a much, much better. A 3.0 from Denko in the middle sector. Huge improvement. And he just needs to find another few corners. And he should get himself at least in the battle for the top 10, I think. Mercedes driver who started this season so well with 3 podiums in a row. He comes through the final corner. It's a 28.0. He just falls in behind Cavalis for P12. It's much more like it for Denko. As anyone else on a lap? Yes, Tier 2.5 tenths up in the first sector alone. This could be big from Tier as the McLarens look to stamp their authority in the Constructors' Championship. They sit just 2 points behind the 2 leading teams. As he heads into the middle sector. Just 2.5 minutes to go in this quali session. It has flown by. Denko saying he's not done a lot of practice for this one in the chat. Sorry, I'm quite behind on the chat. But we'll see what he can do in the race. You won't see Avenir fast. Lots of hardware issues right now. That must explain it then. Because it does look like you're driving in slow motion through the corners. I'm not going to lie, Avenir. There's got to be some hardware issues going on there. Indeed, as you're a Jinx merchant who will not get pole today. Well, apparently not Alex, but we'll see. Tier goes to P8, only improves by 2.5 tenths in the end, but look how close it is. Another 2 tenths and he would have been in 4th. And then another 2 and it would have been pole. He is so close, but yet so far in terms of positions. Alex G, who was looking really strong just a few minutes ago, now down in 13th. At the moment, so we'll see if he can find a lap to get himself all the way up. He was very strong in Singapore just 2 seasons ago when we last came here in Tier 2. So it's surprising to see him so far down. We've got Scott coming through. 4-time prediction championship runner-up for a reason. All right, Rick. Scott through the middle sector. What can he do here? 1 minute 1, 1 minute 2. It's going to be a 2.9. It's not bad at all. Is it enough for pole? I'm not sure. He needs to really nail this final sector. He's 0.5 tenth up as he comes down towards the last few corners. What can he do in the braking zone here? It's nicely done from Scott. Maybe misses the apex a tad, but of that first right-hander, but perfect on the left. He comes through the final corner. What's it going to be for Scott? Is it enough for pole? Not quite. He stays down in P4, and that is going to be his qualifying done. Aces invalidates at the first few corners again. He did that at the start of this session. He's now done it at the end as well. Who else is coming through? There's a Williams. I think that is Cavalis. It is on an outlap. I'm not sure exactly how much time is left. Just 10 seconds. So I think that Williams and Cavalis will be the last to set a time. Robsu is going to be so close. He's in the wall, actually. Nothing for Robsu. He's going to stay P11 at best. But who's going to be next? It's going to be Sumo, I think, next across the line. No, it's JB through the final corner. No improvement. No improvement for our current pole sitter, so he is vulnerable. Enchilada Dad coming through the final sector. He's 0.5 tenth up. What can Sumo do through these last match pole position here in Singapore, right at the death, through the final corner for Sumo? He does it by a mile, a 26.9 from Sumo. Extract goes up to P3 as well. What can Enchilada Dad do? Can he get that slight improvement he needs to beat Extract to P3? No, he stays in 4th. Scott is not improving. Ace is invalidated. Lawrence also invalidated. What can Jacko do through the final corner? The Scottish driver goes to 4th. Much better from Jacko, and he's right in the fight now. There's more drivers coming through. Cavalis is going to be across the line soon. Triku Bediak through the final few corners, but he's not improving. Neither is Drogon. So I think it's all going to be down to Cavalis here. Alex is invalidated too. So can the Lithuanian find a big improvement here in the final sector to get himself further up the grid? He really clatters over that curb. Very nice line through that last corner he just went through. Final corner on the circuit, and he doesn't quite improve his position. Improves his lap by 9 thousandths, but stays 13th. Wow, what a close qualifying it was, right up until the end when Sumo just blew everyone out of the water. What a lap from Sumo Gilligan. And he will take a magnificent pole position here in Singapore, just as he predicted. Oh, Alex invalidated before starting his lap. That is a shame. Yeah, last corner invalidation is always a horrible feeling when you end up doing that, but it happens. You know you've got good pace, Alex, so you can have a good race here. Just don't be too reckless. But it is Sumo Gilligan on pole position in the other Ferrari with JB alongside him on the front row. JB denied that pole position in the end, but he is 3 positions ahead of Enchilada. Extra in 3rd place with Jackalacco joining him on the front row. Then it's Enchilada Dad, and then it is Scott in P6, followed by his teammate joining him. In the top 7, then it's Lawrence and Tier and Triku make up row 5. Robsu, Drogon, Cavalis, Denko down in 14th. Primeval, Alex G, and then Avenir lining up at the back. Is there a release date yet for F1 25? I wish there was, Hamzo. It would make it a lot easier to plan season 16. But there's rumors on the grapevine that it will be somewhere around May 23rd, I think. Yeah, we'll see if that ends up actually happening. If it does, that's perfect for us. But if it's a week earlier, then we might have to chop a race off of next season and make it 9 races instead of 10. But here we go then, straight into it. 5 red lights. And we're underway for the Singapore Grand Prix. And JB gets a great start off the line and draws alongside Sumo for the lead of the race. Sumo sweeps around the outside. There's contact as they go through turn 1. But JB just about keeps his car on the circuit. Extract trying to sweep around the V-Carb driver as well. But he has to slot in behind as they head towards turn 5. Aces versus Kings and Scott swapping positions further back as there's a lot happening up and down the grid at this start. Tier looking to the inside of Scott. He can't quite find the move though. He has to stick behind. But the top 4, the top 5 even in order that they started in this race. Let's get everything else enabled. There we go. Robsu up in 2 positions already. What a start for the Finnish driver. He's up to 9th place in this race as he now charges after Tier and the 2 Alpines just ahead. Through the old Singapore sling they go. Robsu into the back of Tier. I don't think any damage done to his car. It was small enough a tap that it shouldn't have mattered too much, but getting a much better exit than Tier out of there, but not quite enough as Drogon looks like he's locked his brakes and gone straight into the wall at the hairpin. Disastrous start for the Italian, but Sumo and JB drawing alongside perhaps down the straight in sector 3, but it's just JB looking on the inside. Sumo and the V-Carb driver pulling away briefly from the rest of the pack, but that little kerfuffle has brought X-Rex straight back into it. So as we start, it's the top 5 in order, then Aces and Scott who've swapped positions, and then Tier, Robsu up 2 positions, and Lawrence down to P10 off the start, but sticking with the pack for now. Let's get tyres on the screen. It's most of the grid starting on the mediums. Drogon did as well, but he's since pitted to the hards thanks to that damage that he's had to repair. Only Denko and Avenir Sinner-Roy starting on the hards. So we'll see how that works out for them. As JB struggling to stay with Sumo in this early stage. On lap 2, oh no! JB! JB is out of the race! On lap 2, JB has binned it, and with it, I think his title hopes may have just gone up in smoke. Oh, JB! How have you managed that? It is high drama. Here in Singapore, at this early stage, JB has binned it into the wall on lap 2. I think it's so easy to do at that corner. I think I know exactly what he's done. I think he has simply just gone too far on the throttle pedal into that corner, and he's gone. The wall just slightly juts out, and if you catch it, then you are gone. I think that is exactly what's happened. That is such a shame for JB. I think his title hopes are flashing before his eyes just now, and I think they are all but gone after that. That is such a shame. Extract gets a great restart though. He's drawn just about within a second of Sumo, but he's lost that margin again as they come through the corner. I don't think he got DRS. Let's have a look at the rear wing. No, it has not opened, but it has for Jackalacco. So Jacko may be hoping to get an opportunity on Extract here, but he's just too far behind on this occasion as Extract uses some ERS to get back with our race leader, Sumo. Yeah, it's just there where the wall slightly juts out at the bottom end of it, where it's easy to make that mistake and just go slightly too wide, and the car just explodes. And that is exactly what's happened, I think, to JB. Disaster for him. It's great news, though, for this man, our championship leader, Enchiladad, his closest rival out the race. Oh, no, but he's taken Jacko out. He's gone too far to the inside. He braked too late for the hairpin, I think. And contact between himself and the Season 10 champion. Championship nerves at the back end of the season really starting to affect our drivers, I think, as well, that's paid off well for Extract and Sumo, because now Jacko is well out of DRS range, and well, Extract is going to get the DRS, but he could well get a 5-second penalty for that in the stewards. And well, certainly towards the back end of this championship now, it's the likes of Extract who is the only one really not making mistakes at this stage. And well, as a two-time reigning champion, you would expect that. It's the ones who have never won a championship before. Those are the ones who are making the mistakes. JB and Enchiladad in that top 4 of this season, just making one too many mistakes each, perhaps. And Ench could really pay for that one, I think, because Jacko will certainly report that. I'm sure he will. And I would be very surprised if that is not a 5-second penalty to Enchiladad at the end of the race. So we'll keep that in mind as the race goes on. But yeah, that could be extremely costly for the Irishman. It's still good news for him to have JB out the race, but yeah, he's going to lose quite a few points to Extract and Jacko potentially if he does get that penalty. Meanwhile, Sumo and Extract continuing to gap the rest of the field. Extract just about staying with Sumo, but he's had to use an awful lot of ERS to do it. Sumo is pulling away from the two-time champion. This is fantastic so far from the British driver. And the Norwegian is really struggling. He's completely out of ERS. Over a second is the gap, and Sumo setting the fastest lap as he goes off into the distance. He's just got to make sure to not make mistakes now, something that's been a big trouble for him all season long. It's been making those mistakes when in great positions as Rob Soutier and Scott go wheel to wheel. Oh my goodness me! There's a huge amount of lag going on there as Scott and Tier practically getting on top of each other's through Sector 1. Scott's got damage as a result of that. And, well, I'm not surprised given what we saw. He goes down the inside of the McLaren, forces Tier off the circuit. Not sure how Tier's going to feel about that particular move, but Cavalis on the inside of Triku, meanwhile. Cavalis, making that move on the Haas. Great stuff from the Lithuanian. Primeval in the background. Alex losing the rear just behind, and Denko staying with them on the hards. Could that pay dividends for him later in this race? Meanwhile, Sumo, again, just about staying out of range of Extrek, but Extrek is using all his ERS to stay with this Ferrari. It's definitely advantage Sumo for now, but can he hold on as Jacko has managed to gap aces in the meantime? So he looks to be speeding away in third place, with aces just under a second behind now. He's used ERS to get into that range again. And once again, Sumo pulling away in that final sector. He really seems to have Extrak's number in those last few corners especially. Extrak just seems to lose so much time there compared to anywhere else in the circuit. He gains here through that first few corners, but it's just that last part of the circuit where he cannot match the Ferrari. And Enchilada now just sticking with aces as they try and stay with Jack Alaco, but a big mistake from aces I think is going to leave him very vulnerable to the McLaren on the run down to the next corner. Here comes Enchilada on the inside for turn 7. I don't think Ace is going to fight that too hard. Scott and Robsu side by side in the background as well, and it's Scott who makes the move up to 7th place. He still does have that wing damage to contend with. And Robsu right behind him through all of those corners. Yeah, Scott losing so much time to that wing damage. You can tell by the time deltas on the left-hand side of your screen. But it is Robsu in the top 7, now flying the flag for the VCARB team. With JB out of the race, it's disastrous, both for the drivers and constructors, that DNF for JB. And he will be absolutely gutted, I know he will. Because he'll feel it's such an avoidable mistake, but honestly, I've made exactly that mistake plenty of times and crashed out at that exact place on the circuit. So it's very easy to do, JB. Don't feel too harsh on yourself, but yeah, it's going to be really hard for him to take that one. As we head on to lap 7 of 31. Sumo now 1.5 seconds ahead of Extrek at this stage. Still, the Norwegian has a lot less ERS in the bank. And, well, role reversal from usual. It's usually Extrek who's the one saving ERS while everyone else is pushing hard to stay with him. This time, it's the other way around. As Sumo pulls away. Jacko continuing to pull away from Enchiladad as well. Who's staying ahead of aces for now. Scott goes very deep into turn 7, but there's nothing Robsu can do to make any sort of move. Scott making that Alpine as wide as he can with that wing damage to keep the VCARB driver behind and protect his teammate aces, I think, is the order of the day for him now. Here just behind as well. No visible damage to his McLaren despite what happened earlier. But Lawrence as well in the background. Cavalis, Triku Badayak also in this DRS train with Primeval now. He's dropped right out of it. He got his best result in his league racing career with APP. Not just a couple of weeks ago when he finished P7. But I think that position is looking quite a long way ahead for him right now. He's going to have to get a safety car or some other luck in this one, especially with that added complication. 3-second time penalty to the Williams driver as Alex G comes into the pits. Very early stop for the Ukrainian. In he comes, presumably for a set of hards to the end, as Extrek is now catching Sumo. He's back within that 1 second range. He doesn't quite have the DRS on this occasion, but Sumo's now got to push to keep him behind. And as we know, Extrek usually gains pace as races go on. He starts off at some level, but then he gets better and better as the race progresses, as Robsu loses the rear after making an overtake on Scott. He gets back on the inside though at turn 8. Scott still has the inside for turn 9, but surely Robsu will take this with Scott's wing damage. He does indeed. Robsu is ahead, up to P6 he goes, and it's 2 seconds up the road to Aces, who has lost DRS to Enchiladadad substantially. He's now 2.5 seconds behind. Is there damage to Aces? Nothing visual that I saw as he went through the hairpin, so just a loss of pace for him. We've got a safety car. What is that for? Someone must have been into the wall. Was it Denko? We've got a full course safety car somehow. I think, no, Denko has no damage. Oh my goodness, Primeval straight into the wall. I think, yeah, I know, I think I know what's happened. I think Primeval's binned it into the wall. He's lost some of his front wing, and then miscalculated that corner with the new damage to his car, and he's binned it straight into the wall. So, yeah, I think we do now have a justified safety car. Maybe not justified before, but we certainly do now. Denko stays out with his hard tyres, and he is now going to lead this Grand Prix from Sumo. Everyone else into the pits, of course, onto those hard tyres. They will probably go to the end, I imagine, as Avenir comes through the final corner. Safety car, knew Williams would bin it, so it came early, says Charles in the chat. Yeah, maybe. But Avenir will gain a few places. No, he gets a drive-through for speeding under the safety car, so all those places will be seceded again. But he is going to be quite a nuisance to the drivers behind him, given how slow he is in this race. Cavalis, Tia, Triku, they're all going to have to... they're all going to have to get creative to get past this Sauber driver. And did I spy another drive-through for Avenir there? I think I did. So clearly he's either not got the delta on his screen or just not paying any attention to it. I'm not sure. Oh, well, he's now losing positions because he spun it under the safety car. So bad to worse, unfortunately, for the newcomer to Tier 2. Alex G brought back into the race after this safety car as well. He's got a new front wing, new tyres as well. So he'll be straight back into this one, as will Drogon. A long way back, but he has avoided being lapped. So he will have another chance to get back into this race after his early woes. But it is Denko who leads us after staying out on those hard tyres. Stewards if you feel aggrieved, Alex. Just send it to stewards. But, yeah, it is unfortunate timing of the safety car for him. But Alex still in this race despite that. Avenir into the pits. Maybe he thought he could serve as drive-through under safety car. He was mistaken. So he's going to have to come in again, I think twice as well. I think he has 2 drive-throughs. But Drogon is going to rejoin the back of the pack. And he'll be back in this race. Let's have a quick look at telemetry, at penalties. It is 3 seconds to Alex and 3 to Drogon at this stage. And of course the drive-throughs to Avenir. But it is a very interesting prospect here for this restart. Denko has stayed out, so he's obviously going to be holding Sumo up here is going to be playing the team game. He did say last week he was going to try and be as much of a Sergio Perez to Extrek as he possibly could. Well, he's got a great opportunity to do that now. He's got Sumo right behind him, and Sumo has had Extrek's number so far this race. So if Denko can hold him up and keep Extrek in this one, or even better, let Extrek get past the Ferrari and then hold him up even more, there could be some real good team play in store here from the Mercedes duo. They've got a constructors fight to think about as well. But I'm sure Denko just looking to secure this driver's title for Extrek. They come through the final corner, and there he goes through the final corner, and Extrek has got the jump on Sumo as a result. Definitely some communication between the Mercedes. Oh, Extrek's gone into the back of Sumo. There's contact, and Jack Alacco finds his way to the inside of turn 3, but he can't quite get the exit speed, and Extrek stays ahead. Enchilada and Aces also side by side just behind, but Enchilada staying ahead. The championship leader, a lot of pressure on his shoulders in this race. This is the one race you cannot afford to mess up. JB's already done that. And Enchilada will hope that he doesn't make it too, as Denko goes very wide there at turn 7, but there's nothing Sumo can do to get past it just yet. He's being very frugal with his ERS. He does not want to waste it. He knows Extrek is behind. He knows the Mercedes are going to play the team game here as they all pile through the middle sector. With Denko just ahead of that Ferrari. Sumo still sticking with him into the hairpin. No opportunities there yet for anyone by the looks of things, although Ace is very squirrely on the exit. Can Robsu find a way through? Nah, too far back, not enough exit speed for him. Cavalis in the background as well, the one remaining Williams driver on the field right now as Scott and Lawrence come to bear. There's contact between Scott and Lawrence. The two-time Tier 2 champion Lawrence, as Sumo and Denko make contact as well! And Denko is into the wall, all the way down to the back of the grid again for Denko. I'm not sure what's happened there, but Sumo is ahead. There was contact, there was 2 bits of contact in the same sector. I couldn't quite catch either of them, unfortunately, but I'm sure there will be some disgruntled drivers as a result. Lawrence and Scott all the way 5 seconds back. Denko into the pits to repair his wing and to get some fresh tyres on, but he will not be happy, as his fans certainly aren't happy in the chat either. But it's Sumo now back into the lead of this race, with Extrek just behind him. It's Jack Alacco as well in the mix, with Enchilada sticking with them. The top 4, the top 4 in the championship. Now the top 4 in this race. Well, minus JB actually. Excuse me. Extrek, Jacko, and Enchilada Dad minus JB are the top 3 now in this race. But they're all sticking behind Sumo, who's shown he has the pace to win a race this season plenty of times, but it hasn't quite come his way. Today is the day that changes, but he's got a gap Extrek first. And, well, he had some help from the VSC last stint, but now it is back to equal playing terms. He also had some help from JB binning it too, so Extrek should now be able to stay in DRS range, I would think, even if he is slightly slower on raw pace than the Ferrari. But it is going to mean that this DRS train all the way down to P9 for the lead now. Certified Tier 2 Classic, says Rick. Well, don't say that yet. We're only on lap 13 of 31. There's plenty of time to go, as Aces takes a decent line through turn 3, but then cuts it a little too far on the inside on the exit and loses some time to the cars ahead. Triku desperately trying to stay in that DRS range. It's so close. He is not quite on the pace at this circuit by the looks of things. It is a classic already, says Rick. Well, we've certainly had plenty of drama, haven't we? So I wouldn't entirely disagree. Enchilada Dad, a little bit squirrely perhaps there through turn 9. Aces follows him through the Singapore Sling, gets right up behind that McLaren as they head under the bridge. And Ace is nearly down the inside again into the hairpin, but he's just a bit too far behind Robsu into the back of the Alpine, actually, as a result. But everyone that's still sticking in DRS range for now. Triku is just hovering on that 1 second range. I think he might fall out of it, but he had a great corner there, got himself a 10th. And he's now only 9 tenths behind, 8 tenths behind. And he's just about staying in this DRS train, but really struggling to do so. And Tier with a 3-second time penalty. That is not going to do him well, especially in this Constructors' title battle. Cavalis gets one as well. They're starting to come in, the track limits penalties. There'll be plenty more as the race goes on, I'm sure. But not good news for Tier in the context of the Constructors, because McLaren now need to rely on Enchilada to get a big result here. He won 3 races in a row this season. That came to an end last week in Mexico, where he could only manage 4th, or I think it was 5th actually in the end. But he now sits in the top 4, just behind those podium sitters. He was well out of the podium before that safety car, so he will be grateful for it coming out, as will many drivers behind him, except Scott and Lawrence, I imagine, and possibly Denko too. But anyway, he is up there in P4, just sticking with them for now. No overtakes being made yet, and these hards should go to the end, so I don't think there's going to be another pit stop in this one, as Alex makes a move on Drogon at the hairpin. Good stuff from the Ukrainian. Didn't quite catch it on camera, but it must have been a decent move. As Triku again is just hovering around that 1 second range. He's really trying his best to stay with them, but he loses so much time in the middle sector, he does. That's where he's dropping off. And then he gains it again in the final sector and in sector 1 and gets back in range, but he's teetering on the edge every single lap. And now Tier actually is struggling to stay with the cars ahead as well. Drove on into the pits even in his Haas, so an early stop for him. Must be damage to his car, unfortunately, again. And Sumo leads us down towards turn number 8. DRS to X-Trek. He's not interested in making a move. Sumo not interested in defending either at this stage. Long, long way to go. We're only at the halfway stage of this one. We've already had so much drama. The safety car has brought everyone together, but maybe calming things down, maybe not. Scott right down the inside of Lawrence there into turn 8. That was turn 7 rather. That was an audacious move from Scott. Possibly one with a little bit of venom after the incident between them, I'm not sure. But I doubt either driver is particularly happy with that one, by the look of it. Ace is right behind Enchilada, but no move being made. This DRS train continues on. Everyone just in single file for now, as Triku has gotten straight back in range within half a second of Tier now. So he's doing his best, the Czech driver. He is really putting on a great performance here. He's clearly not quite on the pace of the cars ahead, but he is giving it absolutely everything to stay with them. And I really hope he gets a good result out of this one, because he deserves it. Well, he sets the fastest lap there as well. So yeah, he definitely deserves to get something out of this one, the effort he's putting in so far this stint. But now X-Trek right behind Sumo. Could this be the lap where he makes the move? No, I think he's just a bit too far behind again. Sumo's going to stay ahead. X-Trek with the closing speed looks to the inside, but Sumo not interested. He switches straight back to non-ERS mode. You could tell by the red flashing light on the back of the Ferrari. And he's perfectly happy to just keep X-Trek behind for now. Not getting into any sort of ERS shenanigans from the Norwegian. X-Trek very good at manipulating people into using their ERS when they don't need to. Sumo not interested in any of that so far. Oh, a little mistake though on the extra hairpin. Don't think it's going to cause a move. Actually it is. X-Trek looking to the outside. He's going for it here. Is the two-time champ. But Sumo fends him off for now. But X-Trek on the switchback on the exit. And he finds the outside line. It's going to be inside for the next corner, but he backs out. And Sumo stays ahead for another lap. But Extract now really pushing the Ferrari, and again, he's gotten him to use quite a bit of ERS in that defense. And that is going to bring Jacko into this as well, perhaps. Enchilada has used plenty of his ERS to keep Aces behind in the meantime. But this 9-car train continues on in single file for now. Sumo doesn't seem to quite have the same blistering pace on the hards that he did on the mediums. Or either that, or the gap has just equalised between him and Extract. Extract simply just better on the hards. Or it could be a combination of both. But for now, Sumo's still staying ahead. But now he knows any mistake he makes is going to be pounced upon by Extract. And these two have done battle plenty of times already this season and last season. So they know how each other works. Sumo's grown as a driver as well in that time. So we'll see if he learns those lessons and puts them to good use. No mistake on the exit of the hairpin this time. And continue on in the same order for now. I've noticed in the Discord JB blaming the game for his DNF. I think I'm not sure. That could just be a reactionary thing. Maybe there was some kind of glitch that I didn't see, but I really think he's just miscalculated where that wall ends up being on the exit of turn 8. I've done it myself many times, so I understand completely as Aces looks to the inside of Enchilada. That a mistake from the McLaren through the final corner. Here comes Aces versus Kings down the inside. Enchilada forced off the circuit. But I wouldn't say there was anything particularly bad in that one. But if this DRS train continues being so close, it's even worse news for the championship leader, because a 5-second penalty would drop him quite far at this stage. It would drop him all the way down to 9th place, as Extract again looking slightly to the inside of Sumo, but not interested in making a move for now. And Sumo not really interested in battling at this stage. Still a long way to go, as Jacko now getting right up the back of this Mercedes. Extract with a bit of a mistake through the middle sector there, but nothing Jacko can really pounce on at that part of the circuit. Obsu now right behind Enchilada Dad. The Irishman just doesn't seem to have much pace at this track. And his championship lead could be taking a hefty hit in this race if it carries on like this. It already took a decent hit last week, but it could be taking even more of a hit if this carries on, especially if he gets a 5-second penalty for that incident with Jacko earlier on in this Grand Prix. We've still got 13 laps to go at the end of this one, and it is Sumo who leads from Extract, as it has been for the entire race, other than when Denko stayed out. Again, I don't know what happened between Sumo and Denko. I don't know if there was any shenanigans, or if Denko simply just got caught out. Racing incident, could have been anything really. I've no idea how that happened. But Denko finds himself right at the back in 14th as a result of it. He tried to play the team game for Extract. It didn't quite work out this time. Sumo again using some ERS to keep Extract behind. He's got a lot less in the tank than the Mercedes driver, but he's still got a decent amount left to defend with. So he's still doing well, is the Ferrari driver. Extract is going to be ready to pounce at a moment's notice, and if so, if necessary, he will leave it to the final lap, as he has done in the past. Enchilada getting past Aces. I think possibly a mistake from the Alpine driver, and the championship leader's back through into P4. He's got DRS as well. Jackalacco possibly looking for a move on the double reigning champion, but he can't quite find it into the right-hander. He has to back out in the end, but there was a small mistake from Extract through the hairpin, or maybe Jacko just got the better exit. And he had a sniff of a move there, but he's caused Extract to use a lot of ERS to defend there. So he's done Sumo a big favour with that particular attempt, even if it didn't end up happening for him. 12 laps to go now, as we head on to lap 20 of 31. Jacko again, he's looking very feisty in that Aston Martin, is the Scottish driver. And, well, He won Tier 2 in Season 10 just 4 seasons ago. That would have been exactly a year ago, actually. At this point, we have 4 seasons a year in APP. So he'll be looking perhaps for his second this season if he can get a big result here. He's still on the podium, but he's really challenging those top 2 at the moment, is Jacko. And he's putting in a great shift so far. Enchilada will be happy to have dispatched of Aces. I think it was just a mistake from Ace that got Enchilada past. I don't think they were close enough really for Ench to have made any contact with him. Drogon has been there, as has Avenir just ahead. Is that going to be any issue for the lead drivers? I don't think so. He's just the lap car right ahead of Sumo that you can see there in that Sauber. The only thing I can think that might happen here is he might give Sumo DRS, which will give the Ferrari driver some reprieve for this lap. I think that's exactly what's going to happen, at least on the run to turn 1. He is going to be distracting, though, the Sauber driver, especially if Sumo has to drive through him, which I think is probably likely. In the final corner they go. Looks like Avenir's gotten some pace back this race. He's just making too many mistakes at this stage. Extra right behind, looking for a way through, but nothing that he can do. And I think Sumo might actually be hanging back here. Oh, he can't quite manage it. No, there's the DRS detection point, so he did get it from Avenir, and Avenir should really get out of everyone's way here, but he's not going to, which I'm not particularly fond of as a league admin, but he is going to give Sumo DRS. Big news for the Ferrari driver. He's going to stay ahead from Extrac, and he's not going to have to use any ERS to do so, thanks to that DRS. Avenir loses it into turn 7. Yeah, he had some decent pace there for a little bit, just for half a lap. He wasn't losing that much time to Sumo. But then the mistake came through again, and yeah, I do wonder what his hardware issues are, and I hope he can fix them, because his time trials didn't suggest he'd be this far back in Tier 2, so it suggested he'd maybe be lower mid-grid perhaps, but not this far back, so it is a little confusing. So hopefully he can sort that out soon. The 9-car DRS drain continues, though. Meanwhile, as Scott getting past Alex, who has binned it at the hairpin by the looks of things. I think probably locked the rears because he's still got his front wing intact. But yeah, just a rear lock-up into that corner. Very, very easy to do at that hairpin. And he is now down to 12th place. But yeah, this top 9 continue on. It's still locked together. Cavalis, though, looking to the inside of Robsu for turn 1. He's right behind the Finnish driver, but no such move being made. And Cavalis, he won the Constructors' Championship last season in his debut season with Extrarec in that absolutely dominant season from the Norwegian. He's not teammates with him again, but here comes Extract while I'm talking about him down the inside of Sumo. He's finally making the move. He makes it stick. Sumo around the outside, though. He's going to have the inside for turn 8. They're still side by side as they head through. Sumo keeps that line. Jackalako looking for a way through as well as they head through turn 9. Now Extract too much on the curb, and Sumo sweeps around the outside to stay ahead. But finally Extract getting impatient and starting to make those moves. This is not the Extract we're used to seeing. He clearly feels threatened here because he usually in these kinds of situations leaves it until the very final lap, just puts the car ahead under so much pressure until they buckle and then gets them on the final lap. But this time he feels really threatened by Sumo and possibly Jacko behind too, because he's making a move on lap 22 with still 9 laps left to go at the end of this one. So Extract under pressure here in this race. He knows if he can get a win here, especially with Enchilada down in 4th. I don't know if Extract will know about the possible penalty to the McLaren driver that might be coming his way, which would drop him all the way to 9th still as it stands. But he'll certainly know that if he wins this race, he'll gain a huge amount of points on the current championship leader. Jacko will know that too as well, though. Sumo is too far behind in points now after his bin last week in Mexico at the final corner. But here comes Jackalacco now in Extrek, perhaps. Look at that closing speed that he had. Extrek, oh my goodness me, finds a gap on the outside line and goes for it. He's going to have the inside for the next corner. Sumo left him just enough room to make that stick. Sumo's now on the inside for turn 9. Is he going to make this stick as well? This time it's roles reverse. Jackalacco on the inside of both of them. Can he get 2 in 1? Jackalacco on the inside here is 3 wide into the old Singapore sling. Oh my goodness me. Jackalacco takes a phenomenal lead of the Singapore Grand Prix, and he gets out of DRS range of Sumo as a result of that as well. Robsu looks to the inside of Enchiladadad. He can't quite make that move. Aces is down to P7, by the way. I don't know when that happened. But Sumo now 1.4 seconds behind Jackalacco. Aces and Cavalis now side by side. Cavalis makes his way past the Alpine. Or I think it was Aces trying to get past him. As now Tier takes advantage and goes for the inside of Aces into the next corner. They still wheel to wheel as they head through, but I think Aces is going to get that done, or is he? Loses the rear, and Triku looks like he's going to get Tier actually. Rolls reverse, Tier goes wide out the hat, but Triku has made the move up into 8th place. Great stuff from all 3 of those drivers. As now Jacko still leads by 1.5 seconds now. Sumo under pressure to stay with him. Lawrence has retired from the session in the pits. No, he's not. Why has he retired? What's happened? Lawrence and Scott both out. We've got a safety car. I'm not sure what's happened there. Through the final corner, it looked like they both binned it somehow. How is Scott out the race? What on earth has happened? I mean, those two came to bear earlier on, but they were a long way away from each other on track, I thought. No idea how that's happened, but we do have a safety car. It's going to bring Denko straight back into this race, by the way. He's going to be at the back of the field, but he will have a chance now. And, well, Jacko's 2-second lead is going to be wiped out by the safety car. He'll be so frustrated in that Aston Martin because he had a massive opportunity to win this race. But he still does. But what looked like it was going to be a cruise to victory has suddenly turned into a lot more difficult a job. I have no idea what happened to Lawrence and Scott. Greenhill says, if this isn't a classic, I'd love to see what is. Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think this is definitely a classic by now. Yeah, it's... We've certainly had some great races in Tier 2's history, as Rick says. Tier stays out. Of course he does. He's Tier. Of course he stays out when it's completely nonsensical to do so. He would have lost some positions thanks to the double stack, but I really don't think it was a good idea to stay out there. Edge nearly jumping Extrek in the pits, but Robsu's jumped him in the pit lane. Wow, that's a shock. Robsu gets Enchilada in the pit lane. Enchilada's gone onto the soft tyres, so he's going to be aggressive in these first few laps, but they will tail off very quickly, those softs. Aces also on the softs, as is Drogon. But it's now going to be Tier who leads this race with a 3-second time penalty. It is still 3 seconds. Drogon has 16 seconds, so he's well out of this. But it's Jacko just behind, who's in the net lead. And of course Sumo and Extrek. But Jacko, Extrek and Enchilada are the 3 really to watch here. Robsu for the constructors as well. Because there's going to be some big points gains and losses perhaps in the constructors this race. But for the drivers, it's going to be all about Jacko, Extrek and Ench at this stage. They're the ones with the most pressure on their shoulders. not seeing anything from Lawrence or Scott in the Discord, so I'm not sure. I really don't know what happened to them. They were both so far away from each other on track. I thought. I didn't think they were close to each other on track. Tier nearly rear-ending the safety car there. I really don't know how they both DNF there in the same place. It could have just been a coincidence. I have no idea. But very weird. Very weird. Scott and Lawrence are separate incidents at the same corner. Separate incidents at the same corner. Like just one after the other. Lawrence lost it final corner and Scott retired in the pit lane. Okay. Scott retires in the pit lane literally seconds before the safety car comes out. Oh, Scott. Oh, Scott. Why have you done that, mate? Why have you done that, mate? To be fair, as much as I can beat him up on stream for doing that, I think I don't think I'm going to even get close to how much he's beating himself up right now. So we will see, but there are going to be 5 laps by the looks of things of green flag racing, unless Drogon doesn't catch and the safety car stays out another lap. Of course, every lap it stays out is, I think, good news for Enchilada and Aces, because their soft tyres will be slightly better. But it's also good news for Jackalacco. Fewer laps he has to defend. But if he can clear Tier early on and get a car between himself and the cars behind, then he's going to give himself a fantastic chance of winning this race. Drogon's still a long way behind. He's coming through the hairpin on the minimap. So I don't think the safety car will be coming in this lap. It will stay out one more time. So it looks like we're going to get 4 laps of green flag racing to finish off this Tier 2 classic. Who could call a winner here? Who could even call the podium at all? And, well, Enchilada, remember, still could be in some trouble. There is a little incident with Jacko earlier on this race. It could really close the championship up. At the moment, Jacko 16 points behind Enchilada there, going into this race. And Extract 19 points behind. JB was 6 behind Ench coming into this one, so he's going to lose quite a bit of ground. But actually, he's still going to be in it. There are only going to be 2 rounds to go, but he'll still be well in it, I think. Because I mean, if it ends like this, say Enchilada gets a 5-second penalty. That would drop him, I mean, probably all the way to 10th or something. Let's say 10th. So he'll get 6 points. So he'll be 12 points ahead of JB. Jacko winning the race would mean he would be... well, he was 16 behind Ench. So he's going to be 2 points behind Ench. And then X-Trek, if it ends like this, would get 3rd place. He'd get 14 points. So he would end up, well, he was 19 behind, so he would be 11 points behind going into the last 2 rounds. So it would still only be 12 points between the top 4 if it stayed like this. Now, I'm not saying it's going to stay like this. I very much doubt it will stay like this. But this championship could come right down to the wire in these last 2 rounds, as Tia is going to lead us off the safety car in this lap. Here we go. Tier around the final corner as Jacko gets a great exit. Tier loses the rear. This could be an opportunity straight away for the Scottish driver. Sumo and Extract side by side as well. Jacko down the inside of Tier. Sumo and Extract still side by side through turns 1, 2 and 3. Extract on the inside. Sumo's going to get the better exit though, I think, out the corner and should be able to stay ahead and does. Sumo stays P3. Jacko back into the lead straight away. What a restart for him as Extract now is going to try and make a move on Sumo here down towards turn 7. He looks to the outside line like he did a few laps ago, but this time doesn't pay off. Sumo breaks late enough to keep him behind as Aces loses a ton of positions. Not sure what's happened to him, but he is all the way down to P11 now in his Alpine. But we continue to watch the front. It's exactly what Jackalacko needed. Tier now holding everyone else up, Sumo included, as he goes into the back of him, in fact, through the middle sector, and Extract into the back of Sumo, I think, as well. Robsu, what a move! What a dive bomb from the Finnish driver. He became famous a few seasons ago for his brilliant daring overtakes. That was nearly one of them. He can't quite get it done. He still has the outside line. Tier and Sumo side by side up ahead as well. As Sumo tries to get that place and does. Up into P2 he goes. But Robsu right behind Extract. Extract trying to follow Sumo through. He looks to the inside. Tier breaks late and keeps him behind. Robsu tries to find a way through as well. What a thrilling end to this race this is going to be. Jacko 2 seconds ahead. It's a dream restart for the Scottish driver. And Tier holding up Extract as well. Sumo in prime position to get P2. We've got Enchilada on the outside of Cavalis too on those soft tyres. Cavalis on the inside. Oh, who's that? It's Extract. Extract spun. Oh my goodness me. Extract is round at turn 3. What has happened to the two-time champion? Was it a mistake? Was there contact? I have no idea, but he's all the way down to 9th place. It's a disaster for him. Enchilada and Cavalis side by side again. It's all kicking off. There's Alex G down the inside of Triku further ahead. There's still side by side the two Mercedes further back. Extract on the inside by the looks of it. No, the outside of his teammate as they head through turn 9. Denko gives him the place and loses the place to Aces as a result. Aces still on the inside, but Denko's still there. Aces just about clears his way through, leaves a pencil's sharpener worth of width for Denko, but it's just enough. As, wow, Extract down to 9th place. It's high drama right at the end of this Singapore Grand Prix, and it's still not over. Extract, oh, what a dive bomb from the champion down the inside of Alex into the next corner. Alex wasn't expecting it, but Alex is going to fend him off here for P8, and Extract stays down in 9th place. It's all happening here in these last few laps. Extract finally, he is human after all. The two-time champion. It is not over yet this season. It's far from over. Enchilada in P5, possibly getting a 5-second penalty, don't forget. Robsu right behind him as Tier just ahead of them. Surely there's going to be team orders at McLaren as soon as Ench can find a way past Robsu, but Tier's just trying to hold them up at this stage. And Cavalis and Triku's there as well. Triku could get a fantastic result here. I mean, he worked so hard to stay in DRS range earlier on. Enchilada around the outside of Robsu breaks late and gets it done. What a move from the Irishman. He's up to 4th place. Surely Tier will let him through now. Cavalis tries to follow him, but Robsu stays ahead. Well, what a race Cavalis is having as well. Brilliant from both of these two, Cavalis and Triku, both punching well above their weight today. As Tier stays still ahead of Enchilada for now, but I imagine there'll be team orders at some point. But of course, Tier doesn't want to lose position to Robsu while he does it. But Jacko leads by 2.7 seconds as he's going to take us onto the final lap in just a few moments' time. Sumo 2.5 behind, and then Tier 4 behind. Who's going to be on this podium? At the moment, it's Enchilada on track after Tier's penalty. But, I mean, Enchilada could get a penalty of his own later on. Tier does let his teammate go. Great teamwork from the McLarens. Perfect teamwork from them. Tier perfectly stays ahead of Robsu as well. And they head onto the final lap. Tier will have the DRS as well to keep Robsu behind. Cavalis is there too to try and make some moves of his own. Robsu down the inside. Oh, he's gone for it into turn 1. That was a very risky dive, but it didn't quite pay off. but no damage done. Triku in the background as well. He's the only one, well, one of the only ones without a penalty in this group. Alex G still keeping Extrek behind somehow. I don't know how that's happened, but I think it's just because Extrek has no ERS left. But goodness me, this is going right down to the wire. Here comes Robsu for this last podium place down the inside of Edge. Oh, there's a bit of contact. He spins it. Extrek's round again. Aces trying to make his way through. It's 3 wide. Extrek losing patience here. Extrek down the inside, surely making that move up to 9th place, but he's behind Aces now. It looks like Aces just lost some front wing there in that corner, just ahead. But Robsu now with a penalty as well. Could Triku get another podium this season, perhaps? If Ench gets a penalty, he will certainly do that. He does have wing damage by the looks of things, but who doesn't in this group at this stage? Extrek, oh my goodness me! Nearly into the wall for the champion there. Or was that Denko? I'm not sure. Aces and Extrek side by side. Here they go. Extrek on the outside. He's going to make that move. We've got a cut to Jackalacko, who comes around the final corner to win his second race of the season with the fastest lap as well. Sumo's going to come home for P2. Ench is going to get P3 on track, but who knows if he gets a time penalty afterwards from the stewards. Robsu into the wall to finish the race. Extrek finishes P5 thanks to all the penalties. It could be 4th in the end. So what looked like it was going to be a complete disaster, not so bad after all for the double champion, but oh my goodness me, what a race. I am out of breath. Ooh. Okay, yeah, tier 2 classic. Definitely a tier 2 classic. Wow. Jacko takes the top step for the second time this season. What a drive from him. Sumo will be gutted to miss out yet again on his first win in tier 2, but he had a great drive as well. There wasn't that much more he could have done today. Enchilada on the podium. Will he stay there? I'm not sure. But Jackalacko with the fastest lap as well gets the extra point too. And Sumo Gilligan will finish in 2nd place ahead of the championship leader Ench. But could he be facing a penalty from the stewards? Who knows? If he does, it will send him all the way down to P8. So could be huge. Triku in P4. What a try from him. It could be another podium if that penalty does come to Ench. Extrek in P5 after it looked like it was going to be a disaster. Then it's Tia, Robsu, Cavalis, Aces, Denko, Alex, Drogon and Avenir, the last of the finishers, with Lawrence, Scott, Primeval and JB out of this race. But it's going to be all about those top 4 heading into the last 2 rounds of this thrilling season. It is going to be Enchilada versus Jackalacko versus Extrek versus JB. That I guarantee you. It's going to be those 4. Keep an eye on them. It's going to be fantastic. We've got Spa next week, and the finale of the season will be in Zandvoort. So keep your eyes peeled. We are going to have interviews with the top 3, so stay tuned. If you are interested in hearing from them. But wow, you couldn't ask for a more drama-filled Singapore Grand Prix in Tier 2. Oof. Well, I hope your hardware issue can fix itself soon, Avenir. Because you've clearly got the pace to be in this tier. It's just the hardware's letting you down at the moment. Alright, just waiting for the podium sitters. Got 2 of them. Just waiting for Sumo. And there he is. So we have our top 3 from an amazing race. Incredible race. And our P1 finisher for the second time this season was our Season 10 champion, Jackalacko. What a drive, Jacko. What a win. How are you feeling?
Yeah, that's probably the best race I've had in a long, long time. I actually managed to get a decent quali for once, and yeah, finished it off with a win.
Yeah, incredible. You absolutely did. I mean, talk us through the battle. I mean, the double overtake down towards turn 10 on Sumo and X-Trek. I mean, you set yourself up perfectly. Was it one of those that just seemed to just they seemed to just take each other out in slow motion, and then you found a way through, or did it all happen so fast?
I knew that obviously a few corners back they started battling, and I was kind of just like, can I get a switchback here? Can I get a switchback there? Just kind of biding my time. And then they really slowed each other down at the previous corner, turn 9 is it, I think. And then the gap opened up and I went for it, like the famous Ayrton Senna quote. And yeah, took it.
Indeed. Well, what a drive it was. I mean, it's really hard not to give you driver of the day. I think Triku has a really good argument for it as well.
Chucky, love you, Chucky.
But I think it's got to go to you, Jacko. Like you said, one of your best drives for a long, long time. Fully deserved victory. And well, we've got to talk about the championship. Because I worked out the maths. I don't know if Ench's gonna get a penalty or not for something at some point. I don't want to influence you either way. But
I was hoping you'd forget about
that. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm sure, but regardless of that, this championship now incredibly close. It's going to be the three of you, Ench and X-Trek. I think JB is still in it as well. He's not that far behind, even after his unfortunate DNF. But do you think you can get your second one this season now? Is it starting to sink in that you might have a good go?
I'm not going to say yes or no. I'm just going to take it. It's just another race in Belgium, just like it's round 1 again. And we'll go from there, and what will be, will be.
Very diplomatic. But congratulations once again. In those last few laps when you were a few seconds ahead, what a great opportunistic move on tier, by the way. That was massive for your race win. But those last few laps, you were just far ahead. Were there any moments you had? Did you ever feel not in control? Were the nerves setting in, or were you zen in the cockpit?
But yeah, like you say, I needed to get past tier. I knew if I got past tier, even if he held up Sumo for 2 or 3 corners, I could break the DRS. And yeah, I wouldn't say any moments. I was more just cautious. I was on 2 warnings, but I think in the end it would have mattered anyway. But yeah, I just wanted to bring it home.
Well, congratulations once again, and yeah, championship is well and truly on. Well done, Jacko.
Thank you.
And now to our P2 finisher, Sumo. Well, I think in the end you're going to be disappointed you didn't get the win, but also at the same time, I really don't think there was much more you could have done today. So how are you feeling?
Well, if I said my true feelings, I wouldn't be. This wouldn't be a very clean stream, would it? But I drove as hard as I could. I put the best pole qualifying lap I've ever done, ever.
Yeah.
In to cinch pole position and some points in the predictions championship. But I did everything I could to hold off. I defended pretty well. I had a moment with Denko as well, but I don't think I did anything overly wrong there. I gave him as much room as I could given the situation, and I think it's just unfortunate, but I've not seen all the footage yet. and I just tried to defend as hard as I could. I knew the places where Exterek was likely to go for it. I think a bit of desperation costed me the race win today, but it is what it is.
It is indeed, and well, you can't fault Jacko at all. He didn't put a foot wrong, and honestly, Suma, I think you're harsh on yourself. I don't think there was much more you could do. Like you were battling the same, perfectly timed it to get past you both, but I mean, in the end, a P2 finish. The wait for a win goes on, but that pole position, we've got to talk about it, Sumo. I know you briefly touched upon it, but I mean, Hamilton 2018 vibes with that one. Out of nowhere. It looked for sure like JB was going to take pole, and then you beat him by nearly 4 tenths right at the end. I mean, talk us through it. Was it just... did everything come together as one of those laps?
I think so. I was about an hour before the session. I was working on. I was just running through my standard practice routine, and I was really getting frustrated with it because I knew with the new setup that we had, I had about another second on the table, because I think my fastest time up until then was a 27.9, and I managed to find that second. I knew what pace was there, and I found it. Yeah, Hamilton 2018 qualifying lap, just absolutely locked in. Hit every apex perfectly. I think I hit the wall at one point. I was pushing so hard, but it was just, yeah, I was. You can see by my reaction on stream that it was very emotional lap.
Oh well, congratulations, and that result is gonna put you in good stead for possibly a top 5 finish this season, Sumo. Especially with Denko's drop off in form recently. Is that the target now? Because it looks like those top 4 are away and clear. They're going to be our championship protagonists. So I think best of the rest is probably definitely within your reach. Is that what you're going for now?
Yeah, I think this is a salvage operation now. Just try and close out the season with as many points as possible. If I can get another couple podiums on the board, I'll take that as well. I think I'm up to 3 podiums now this season, which equals my best season, I think.
Let me check.
I feel like I had 3 last season.
You had 2 last season, so I think this is your best.
Beating it.
Yeah. Yeah, you had 1 the season before, and I don't think you had any before that. So, yeah, already beaten your number of podiums in a season.
Right, there we go then. Well, let's see. The Belgium and Zandvoort are good tracks for me. So we'll see how we go.
Well, congratulations again, Sumo. Unfortunate to miss out on the win, but still 2 attempts to do it. And I'll move on to our 3rd place finisher then, Enchiladad on the podium yet again this season. It's your 5th of the season, but goodness me, it didn't come easy, did it?
No, it didn't. Yeah, because I definitely could have qualified 2nd, I'll say, but I probably wouldn't have gotten the pole time, but that would have helped a lot in the end. I didn't realize there was just going to be one massive train for the whole race. It was really frustrating because there was no opportunity to overtake whatsoever, unless you're like in 2nd and 1st place doesn't have any DRS. But so I just spent the whole time not pushing fully and also trying not to kill anyone after I almost did early on.
Yeah, it was. It's always tricky to be in the middle of a DRS train like that.
Yeah.
You had a few battles over the course of the race. I think the most defining one that I can remember was the one with Aces, I think. You had quite a few tussles with him.
A bit, yeah. It was mostly just him overtaking me.
Yeah, and then he made a mistake and you got back fast, and then he overtook you again.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I mean, how do you keep the focus in a DRS train like that? Because like you said, you can't really push fully. You have to sort of hold yourself back and make sure not to take anyone out. So is it hard to keep the focus in those situations, or do you find that you enter a sort of routine mode?
depends on the track. I'm also just thinking of the bigger picture that if something happens later, like someone could take someone else out, and if I push you hard now, I can end up with penalties and then like be late safety car and stuff like that. So I might as well just keep myself up there for now and see what happens later.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you are still going to be championship leader, I believe, whether a penalty comes or not. But it is going to be reduced. If a penalty comes, I think you might extend it if it doesn't come.
I think I'll extend it either.
Yeah, you should do.
I might be wrong.
But it's like I said, it's going to be yourself, JB, Jacko, and Extrek. I think the main protagonists in these last 2 rounds. It obviously depends on where the points lie after all is said and done. But who do you think is your biggest rival out of the 3? Who are you most frightened of?
It's easy to just say Jacko now after he won, but I think so because for Extrek, I was thinking he probably needs to win every race, which he's definitely capable of, but he didn't win today, so now Jacko's the closest, and so I'd probably have to say him right now, but that might just be it in the moment.
Don't like this pressure.
Yeah.
Well, he is in top form, so it's hard to bet against any of the 4 of you at this stage, but yeah, I think it would be a fool to count any of you out with these last 2 rounds to go. So congrats on another podium, Ench. Another great drive, despite all of the carnage and pressure that was on you in this race. Very impressive to still come away with P3. So congrats and best of luck for the last 2 rounds.
Thank you.
And there we have it, everyone. That is Tier 2 Singapore done for today. We have 2 rounds to go, like I said. It is Belgium next week, and then we will finish off in Zandvoort in 2 weeks' time. Do not miss it. We are set for a classic in both championships. The drivers and constructors, I think, are still going to be both very, very close. So do not miss it. I will see you there. Thank you all ever so much for watching, and goodbye.